Chapter 6253. Isn't it normal to have a spirit-devouring stone? Guchun looked disgusted. Even if it's an abandoned mine, after digging such a long tunnel, it's normal for a spirit-devouring stone to appear. It's a spirit-devouring stone vein. The guard finally finished his sentence. Guchun was just thinking about going back to see who had escaped when he heard the guard's words. He was stunned. What did you say? Say it again. Manager, there seems to be a spirit-devouring stone vein in this tunnel. In the next moment, Li Wei and Guchun disappeared from the spot. Looking at the huge hole and the remaining spirit-devouring stone vein in front of them, Li Wei and Guchun felt as if they had been struck by lightning and almost fainted. Why is there a spirit-devouring stone vein in this mine? Li Wei held his head. They knew very well how important a spirit-devouring stone vein was. However, this spirit-devouring stone vein had been dug through by someone else, leaving only a few bits of it. Just by looking at this shocking hole, one could tell how big this spirit-devouring stone vein was and how many spirit-devouring stones there were. How could this be? Li Wei turned his eyes. This definitely wasn't done in a day. Did they dig here every day? Guchun quickly thought of Di Baichen and the rest. Do you think it could be Di Baichen and the rest? The other cultivators didn't seem to be the ones who had discovered the spirit-devouring stone vein. If they were the ones who had discovered it, their mental strength wouldn't have become like this. Li Wei's heart thumped. He didn't want to believe it at first, but at this moment, even he couldn't help but suspect. There was a huge commotion in the spirit-devouring stone vein. Not only did some of the miners escape, but they also swept away a spirit-devouring stone vein. The news spread like wildfire, but the initiators of the commotion acted as if it had nothing to do with them, and continued to cultivate step by step every day. There are more and more people coming to the abandoned immortal forest recently. Yu Hong looked around with a complicated expression. Ever since the little guys were taken away by the immortal region, they had been extra careful. They didn't want something like this to happen again. After all, they had dug out a spirit-devouring stone vein. If they fell into the hands of the spirit-devouring stone vein, they would be doomed. A devouring spirit stone vein, how big of a temptation is that? Granny Hua chuckled with a hint of ruthlessness in her eyes. Just based on this point, many people will want to try their luck. If they're lucky enough to find it, they'll be rich. It hasn't been peaceful recently. We have to be careful. Hua Shukong's face darkened slightly. It was not a big deal if it was just an ordinary person, but the impact of this matter was too great. Even some of the old guys could not help but take action. Hua Hua raised her eyebrows and gestured to Zhongli Xiaoran, who was not far away. Don't you see that even old man Zhongli is here? Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were cultivating as usual, they could vaguely sense that the atmosphere was somewhat unusual. Baichen, I feel that Granny Hua and the others have become more nervous recently. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. Although the seniors had never mentioned it, she was aware that the atmosphere had become unusual. Di Baichen's face darkened. It's been a little unusual recently. It might be related to the spirit-devouring stone vein. Chapter 6254. The four seniors are powerful, but if the people from the spirit-devouring mine come, I'm afraid the four seniors will be under a lot of pressure. Bailey Hongzhuang fell into deep thought. When they were mining, they didn't think too much about it. They only thought that it was a pie that fell from the sky. Now, it seemed that the consequences of this matter were much more complicated than they thought. Now that we're in the limelight and Manager Li and the rest have met the four seniors, I'm afraid the other party will find us soon. Mo Yunjue's face was solemn. The four seniors were willing to guide them, which was already a huge gain for them. If they implicated the seniors because of them, that was what they didn't want the most. Everyone looked at each other. Instead of continuing like this, it was better for them to leave for a while. Zhongli Mu was young and he was the grandson of Zhongli Sr. The other party probably wouldn't do anything to Zhongli Mu, so they were still looking for them. As long as they weren't around, the other party wouldn't be able to do anything. After a short exchange of glances, everyone had already made a decision. When the four of them heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were going back to the clan, they quickly guessed the real reason. What? Are you worried that I won't be able to protect you? Granny Hua asked. Bailey Hongzhuang held Granny Hua's hand and smiled. Granny is so powerful, why would we worry about this? We've been away for quite some time and we've disappeared for so long, so our family will be worried. Moreover, we want to bring back a treasure like the spirit-devouring stone. Granny Hua looked at Bailey Hongzhuang seriously and patted the latter's hand. Since you've decided, I won't stop you. Anyway, you can come back if you want to. You don't have to worry about these things. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest looked at each other and smiled. After bidding farewell, they returned to the upper realm. Granny Hua's words had undoubtedly confirmed their guess, which also made them understand the importance of the spirit-devouring stone. Big Brother Fong is going to the chaotic immortal realm alone. This news has spread so quickly, maybe the people in the chaotic immortal realm will know about it too. I wonder if Big Brother Fong can reach there safely? Bai Li Yin-che looked worried. Although he didn't know if they would meet again in the future, he sincerely hoped that Fong Qin could live well. Big Brother Fong is smart and quick-witted. He should be able to find a way to overcome it. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. The D family. In the blink of an eye, everyone had disappeared for so long. When they came out of the house, their faces were filled with joy. Beichen, you guys are finally out. Di Xiaofeng happened to pass by and saw Di Beichen. He smiled and said, every time you guys go into seclusion, you won't come out for many days. Big brother, judging from your expression, you seem to be looking for me? Di Beichen asked. Di Xiaofeng waved at Di Beichen and smiled at the crowd. Let's talk somewhere else. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows and slowly walked to Di Xiaofeng's side. Big brother, what made you so mysterious? Haven't the problems of the Jun family and the Xiao family been solved? The family's problems are almost solved. Recently, things have been getting better and better, so father and mother decided to bring up the matter of Yun Yan and me. Hong Zhuang is the head of the Bailey family. If you guys don't appear, my matter will? Di Xiaofeng was a little embarrassed. Recently, he had been looking forward to his brother and sister-in-law coming out of seclusion. Chapter 62-55. Congratulations, big brother. Di Beichen put a hand on Di Xiaofeng's shoulder and winked wickedly. After waiting for so long, you're finally going to marry Yun Yan? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't know what Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichen were talking about so mysteriously. Now that they suddenly heard Di Beichen's words, everyone understood and a mocking smile appeared on their faces. Xiaofeng, you're getting married. This is a joyous occasion. Why are you so mysterious? Are you afraid that we'll kidnap Yun Yan? When Xiren smirked and walked to Di Xiaofeng's side, Di Xiaofeng helplessly glanced at Di Beichen. This brat was doing it on purpose. Facing Di Xiaofeng's gaze, Di Beichen calmly turned around and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Wife, I still need your help with this matter. My big brother's lifelong happiness depends on whether you agree or not. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. Speaking of which, the fate between them was really deep. Di Xiaofeng's gaze immediately fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and heard Di Beichen say, Wife, if there's anything good you want, just say it. My big brother will definitely find a way to satisfy you. Beichen, you brat, you've forgotten about your big brother now that you have a wife. Di Beichen chuckled. Big brother, weren't you like this when Yun Yan was here? Lin Yunqing and Xia Wanrong came as soon as they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had returned. As the mistresses of the Di family, the two of them were exceptionally concerned about Di Xiaofeng's marriage. Hongzhuang, you've finally come out of seclusion. We've been waiting for you recently. Xia Wanrong walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Look at you. Don't work too hard on your cultivation. I haven't seen you for a while and you've lost weight. Bailey Hongzhuang lowered her head and smiled. Recently, she had been busy mining in the spirit-devouring mine all day and had indeed lost some weight. I'm fine. I'll be back for 2 meals to make up for it. Of course. Xia Wanrong said seriously. Your mother will be here soon. Xiaofeng's marriage will be held in the Lin family. Yun Yan's situation. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, cleverly saying, Grandmother, don't worry. I'll definitely arrange it well. We don't worry. We don't? But as the head? After that, we'll sit down together and discuss the wedding. I understand. Soon, Mu Lingbing and the others rushed over. After seeing Hongzhuang, Mu Lingbing couldn't help but frown. You child. You disappear for so long every time you go into seclusion. It was a reprimanding tone, but it was filled with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang stuck her tongue out and smiled. All right, we brought gifts for everyone this time. Hearing her words, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. Everyone didn't care much about gifts, but Bailey Hongzhuang's things were never simple. They naturally had to take a good look. Hongzhuang's medicine had been of great help to the family. Now, the family's cultivators were especially fond of Hongzhuang. They hadn't seen each other for a while. Could it be that Hongzhuang had brought them another surprise? Bailey Hongzhuang took out a Chengquan bag and took out all the spirit-devouring stones. Chapter 62-56. Looking at the pile of pitch-black stones in front of them, everyone's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. They had never seen these things before. Hong Zhuang, what is this? Lan Yunxiao stepped forward and picked up a spirit-devouring stone. Although he had never seen it before, he could sense the energy fluctuations contained within the stone after carefully sensing it. Most importantly, the energy fluctuations were different from those of spirit stones. It was more ethereal and special, and vaguely seemed to be related to mental energy. Diyu Jue and the rest also sized up the stone in their hands. Just by sensing the energy contained within, they knew that this thing was definitely not simple. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest looked at each other and smiled. This is a spirit-devouring stone. It can help cultivators increase their mental energy. As soon as these words were spoken, dense astonishment appeared in the eyes of all the elders present. There's actually such a stone in this world? Di Linxian looked at the stone in his hand in disbelief. Every cultivator hoped to increase their mental energy. However, mental energy was not like elemental energy that could be cultivated directly. Normally, it was very difficult to increase one's mental energy even if they wanted to, unless they had some extremely high-grade pills. Not only were these pills expensive, but the success rate was also extremely low. Unless one was lucky, they would be able to obtain them. Normally they were too rare. However, these stones in front of them actually had such an effect? That's right. Di Beichen nodded. He thought that it would be better not to talk about the abandoned immortal forest for now. With everyone's current state, it would be difficult for them to survive in the immortal region. Only cultivators who had ascended from the immortal region could openly enter the immortal region. Perhaps they would know more about it when their cultivation was higher. Hong Zhuang, you really can bring us huge surprises every time. Lin Yunqing's face rippled with a gentle smile. Hong Zhuang was like a treasure that surprised them every time. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. This isn't my work alone. It's everyone's work. When Xiren and the others also faced everyone's gazes with smiles on their faces. In the past, they had never come to the Di family's meetings, but this time, because they were discussing Di Xiaofeng's great news, everyone came without any scruples. The members of the Di family also treated Xiren's group as their own, not only because they were Di Beichen's friends, but also because these friends had never backed down when the Di family was in trouble. Everyone saw all of this and remembered it in their hearts. Father, I'll leave these spirit-devouring stones with the family. I don't care what you do with them. Di Beichen smiled. Now that the Di family was doing better and better, his heart was completely at ease. All of it. Xiao Wanrong couldn't help but frown. Every cultivator needed such a good treasure. How could they just leave it all in the family? Mother, don't you understand Beichen's personality? Diyu Jue chuckled. Since he said so, it proves that he still has more. This brat always gives us a share of these every time. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded. Father, you know me best. After so many times, if I still can't tell, then how can I be the head of the family? Diyu Jue also joked. Now that the family was thriving and the biggest hidden danger in the past had been eliminated, these days were the most relaxing in many years. Chapter 6257. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang went to the Bailey family with everyone. Now that the transmission array between the Bailey family, the Di family, and the Lin family had been built, it was more convenient to go back and forth. With the rise of the Di family's status, the Bailey family's status also rose. In addition, knowing that they were developing in the direction of a medical family, many families also changed their attitude towards them. With the support of Bailey Hongzhuang and Dr. Wu Weiming, as long as the Bailey family could develop steadily, it was very likely that they would become a medical family in the future. The most important thing was that once they offended the Bailey family, it meant that if they needed to see a doctor in the future, the best doctors in the upper realm would not help them. There was no doubt that no one was willing to accept such a risk, so the Bailey family became a family that no one was willing to offend. Lin Wenlan and the others also came to the Bailey family together. Di Xiaofeng was the young master of the Lin family, so they needed to pay the most attention to the wedding. Greetings to the family head. The family head is here. When the cultivators of the Bailey family saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had come, they all bowed respectfully, and some cultivators quickly informed the rest of the family. In their hearts, the family head was the most amazing person. It was because of the family head that their family had its current status. In the past, no matter what kind of activities they participated in, they were always ignored, but now everything was different. They could proudly say that they were cultivators of the Bailey family, and all of this made them feel very happy. Confidence spread from the bottom of their hearts. This was something that they had never dared to imagine before, but now they had quietly achieved it. Du Jue and the other elders looked at each other when they saw this, and they secretly thought that these little guys' reputation in the family was really amazing. Hong Zhuang rarely came to the Bailey family, but from the gazes of the Bailey family members, she could see how much they admired and respected Bailey Hong Zhuang. This was just like Di Beichen's unrivaled reputation in the family. Even though he had yet to become the head of the family, all the young people in the family regarded him as their goal. That kind of love and respect from the bottom of their hearts even surprised them. It seemed that all the difficult tasks were easily completed by these two little fellows. When Bai Li Fan heard the news, he quickly led a group of elders and rushed over. Everyone's faces were filled with joy and amiable smiles. "Greetings, family head," Bai Li Fan said respectfully. He had nothing but admiration for this young family head. "Greetings, patriarch of the Di family and patriarch of the Lin family." Everyone from the Bailey family bowed. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and said, "We're all on the same side, no need to be so polite. I'm sure everyone has already guessed why I'm here today. It's about Yunyan's marriage." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone began to chuckle. We know. Bai Li Fan's face was full of smiles. "Please come in, the tea is ready. We've also sent someone to inform Yunyan." Everyone walked towards the Bailey family's meeting hall. While everyone was happily discussing the marriage, Bailey Yunyan's figure slowly appeared. Chapter 6258. Everything is up to the master. Bailey Yunyan's cheeks were red as she whispered. Seeing her like this, the smiles in everyone's eyes deepened. "Miss is thin-skinned, so we won't make things difficult for Yunyan." Bai Li Fan smiled brightly. "We can discuss this matter with third elder and the others. In my opinion, the date should be set on the 8th of next month. That's an auspicious day. On the day of the wedding as the elders discussed in full swing, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sat quietly on the side and listened. They obviously didn't need to intervene in this kind of matter. The elders were most interested in this kind of thing. Xia Wanrong and the others had been looking forward to Di Xiaofeng's wedding and had unknowingly talked about it for so many years. Now that they were finally going to get married, why didn't they bring out all the ideas in their minds? Di Beichen found an excuse and slipped out with Bailey Hongzhuang. This kind of family affairs and customs really didn't suit them at the moment. Escaping from the fierce discussion in the hall, Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that the world had quieted down. "Why did you think of running out with me?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. For this kind of joyous occasion, even if the elders' voices were louder than one another and it sounded like they were quarreling from afar, there was still a sense of joy. Di Beichen didn't speak, but raised his right hand and silently looked at the charming girl in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang saw this and put her hand on his. Di Beichen took the opportunity to interlock their fingers. "I'm afraid they have something to discuss about this matter. Let them argue, I want to take you around." "Okay." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, her head tilted slightly to the left, resting on Di Beichen's shoulder as they slowly walked. "I wonder what the situation in the abandoned immortal forest will be like after we leave?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the clear blue sky, as if it had been washed by water. "Granny Hua and the others shouldn't have to guard it all day long, right? The identities of the 4 seniors shouldn't be simple. If it's just Zhongli Mu alone, no one will go looking for trouble." Di Beichen's eyes flashed with wisdom. He had thought about this point carefully. From the tone of Granny Hua and the others, he knew that even the owner of this spirit devouring or was nothing in their eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "After the incident with the spirit engulfing I feel that our cultivation bases are still too weak. Now that the abandoned immortal forest is not peaceful, we can go to a place first." As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang stood up straight and her expression became serious. "Guess where it is? Are you talking about the 4 map fragments?" Di Beichen curled his lips mysteriously. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. "How did you think of it so quickly? Shouldn't your husband understand your thoughts the best?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked away and nodded. "You're right, you're smart. Then shouldn't you give me a reward?" Di Beichen's eyes were full of smiles as he pointed his index finger at his cheek. Bailey Hongzhuang subconsciously looked around and shook her head. "What if there's someone nearby?" "No. If you don't do it, then I'll have to do it myself." Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. "If I do it, it won't be as simple as a kiss." Chapter 6259. "Wifey, do you want to try?" The smile on Di Beichen's lips gradually widened. His unparalleled smile was as bright as the sun, so handsome that it was out of this world. Bailey Hongzhuang pouted and carefully looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, she quickly kissed Di Baichen's cheek. However, the moment she kissed him, Di Baichen suddenly turned his head. Her kiss happened to fall on Di Baichen's lips. Her beautiful eyes gradually widened. Bailey Hongzhuang was about to retreat, but Di Baichen's big hand pressed against her head. After a deep kiss on her lips, he released her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Baichen with shame and anger. "You're too bad." Di Baichen smiled like a fox. "I'm not bad. How about I show you how bad I am at night?" You, as the young master of the Lin family, Di Xiaofeng's wedding was bound to be grand. There were a lot of things that needed to be prepared. All the elders discussed together for almost an entire day, but they still weren't satisfied. It seemed that there were still some small details that they hadn't thought through. Looking at the busy appearance of the elders, the younger generation couldn't help but chuckle. As the head or mistress of the family, they were usually dignified and calm. It wasn't until today that everyone saw that everyone was the same. They were more amiable and approachable. Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan just listened to their family members' opinions and ideas. The two who were clearly the protagonists of the wedding were the most relaxed. On this day, no one was in a hurry to go back. Instead, they directly stayed in the Bailey family. The list was already very amazing. There were even elders on the side who specifically recorded the results of everyone's discussion. Bailey Hongzhuang put the 4 pieces of the map together and a 3-dimensional map appeared in front of the two. "It's been a long time since we got these 4 pieces of the map. I didn't expect that we still haven't gone." Sitting at the table, the two carefully looked at the map. When they first obtained this map, they felt that it was fate. After all, being able to gather all 4 pieces of the map was already an incredible feat. This map shows a sea area, and it's very far from here. Di Baichen looked at the map carefully. According to the plates of the upper realm, the place marked on the map was a very remote place. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "I've never heard of this place before. But don't you think that this map is so mysterious and the location is in the sea? Maybe it has something to do with another place?" "You mean the Bitter Sea Abyss?" Di Baichen raised his eyebrows. "The Bitter Sea Abyss has been missing for many years. I checked the ancient books and it clearly recorded that there are indeed 3 great abysses. The Bitter Sea Abyss definitely exists. However, so much time had passed that no one knew where the Bitter Sea Abyss was. Since it exists and the 3 great abysses have a special power, I don't think it will disappear. It just exists in a place that is rarely known. In the end, no one knows. If this Bitter Sea Abyss is really in the sea, then the possibility is very high." Bailey Hongzhuang thought carefully. The Blood Sea Abyss and the Demon Refining Abyss were both located on land. Any cultivator who passed by would inevitably discover their existence. Chapter 6260. Even if someone found the location of the Bitter Sea Abyss, there was nothing in the sea that could accurately pinpoint it. If there were no islands around, then as long as they left, they would not be able to find it the next time they went back. Look at the marked points on this map, they are in the sea. The only thing that can be roughly determined is this position on the coast, and if you want to determine the other places, you have to sink to the bottom of the sea. Di Baichen looked at the map carefully. The bottom of the sea could also be marked, but above it was the vast sea. If they did not dive to the bottom of the sea, they would not be able to determine it at all. That's why the cultivator who drew the map chose such a complicated drawing method. There is no way to accurately mark this location on a flat map. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly, and her eyes showed a strong interest. Whether this is the Bitter Sea Abyss or not, a place that can be marked with such a map should not be simple. We can explore it. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's interested look, Di Baichen leaned back on the recliner, his head resting on his arms, and his posture was relaxed. "Since Madam wants to go, then I can only risk my life to accompany you." After returning to the Di family, Bailey Hongzhuang told Wen Ziren and the others about this idea. Everyone was also very interested. Judging from the age of this map, it should have been drawn for many years. "I wonder if we can still find it if we go now?" Bai Li Yanche frowned. It had been several years since they found this incomplete map. Moreover, the marked point on the map was clearly in the upper realm, but it fell to the lower realm. One could imagine how long it had been. "No matter what, we have to go and take a look," Linger said. "It's rare that Hongzhuang has such an affinity with this map. If we don't go, wouldn't it be a pity?" The place that this map points to is the sea. So far, the sea is the place with the most secrets. Because there are very few people who go there to explore, even if many years have passed, the possibility of it being well preserved is very high. Mo Yunjue said slowly. It was the same situation back in the lower realm. Even though the place was different, this experience was obviously universal. Take a closer look. The place drawn on this map is so remote. Most people wouldn't go there if they didn't want to die, right? Xiron pointed at the environment on the map. Even if he had the map, he was not sure if he could find it. It would be even more difficult for Yao Xiang to find this place by accident. Beichen and I also think so we plan to wait until Big Brother gets married before going to take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. This is a good idea. Shengguan Yingying nodded. Anyway, with our current strength, we can't go to the immortal domain for the time being. Why don't we take this opportunity to take a look at this sea region? Maybe we'll find a great opportunity. If we were to obtain the inheritance of one of the seniors, wouldn't we have profited greatly as well? For a senior to be able to leave behind an inheritance in a place like this, he must be very powerful. Haha. At the same time, in a small courtyard in the mountains. Sister, I heard that Di Xiaofeng is about to get married. Xiao Sudong looked at the slightly cumbersome figure in front of him. His sister was about to give birth and his nephew was about to speak. Chapter 62-61. Xiao Sou turned her head when she heard the voice. Her original arrogance and confidence had disappeared. Her face was pale and she no longer had her high spirits. All that was left was hatred. Look at how glorious the Di family is now. Even Di Xiaofeng marrying a girl from a small family has become a legend. What a joke. Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with hatred. She had taken one wrong step after another. Now her family had been destroyed while the other party was living happily. Just thinking about it made her unable to swallow her anger. Sister, don't think too much now. Giving birth to the child is the most important thing. Xiao Sudong looked concerned. After the sudden change in the family, his thoughts had changed a lot. Now they were in a disadvantageous situation. There were only the two of them left in the entire family. If they wanted to rebuild the family, it would be a long journey. Just as Master had said, it was useless to think about it now. It was better to cultivate. Strength was the foundation of everything. I can't swallow this. Xiao Sou slammed the table. Look at how miserable our lives are now. They are living a glorious life. It's so ironic just thinking about it. Things have already turned out this way. No matter what we think now, this matter can't be changed. Instead of that, it's better to focus on what we can do now. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Let's follow Master and cultivate well. One day we will be able to take revenge. Hearing this, Xiao Sou slowly touched her stomach. We must enter the crossing immortal domain or even the immortal domain. As long as we can become immortals before them, it will be easy to destroy the Di family, the Lin family, and the Bailey family. Now there was no other path for them to take. Most importantly, after Master had described the crossing immortal domain and the immortal domain to them, they were filled with endless yearning for the immortal domain. That was a place where one's strength was respected. When a cultivator's strength reached the level where they could destroy an entire family, they could easily wipe out an entire family. That was what they had to do. At least they could understand the higher planes through Master. Di Beichen and the others did not even have the qualifications to come into contact with the crossing immortal domain. Given time, they would definitely succeed. Big sister, Master said that the situation after entering the immortal domain would be very difficult. It would be even more difficult to ascend to the immortal domain, and it is very likely that we would lose our lives there. Xiao Sudong frowned. Previously, when his sister had mentioned this to his master had clearly advised them not to go because the danger there was far beyond their imagination. However, his elder sister didn't seem to hear this at all. She only heard how strong the cultivators in the immortal region were, which wasn't a good thing. Since it exists, it's not impossible to ascend successfully. Xiao Sou's face was stubborn, and there was a trace of displeasure in her eyes. You've always been like this, cowering and not daring to fight. If we don't take a gamble now, how can we take revenge for our parents? Say Wu, didn't I tell you not to mention the matter of revenge? Shu Yu slowly walked over and reprimanded with a displeased expression. Xiao Sou's expression changed slightly. She restrained her anger, turned her head and stopped talking. What you should be thinking about now is how to take good care of this child. As for other things, that's not what you should be thinking about now. Chapter 62-62. Listening to Shu Yu's reprimand, even if Xiao Sou was unwilling in her heart, she didn't dare to say anything more. These days, almost every time she mentioned this matter, her master would always reprimand her and make her give up on this idea. However, she believed that no matter who this kind of thing happened to, it was impossible to pretend that it didn't happen. If such a blood feud faded away like this, how would she have the face to face her ancestors in the future? It wasn't until Shu Yu left with Xiao Sudong that Xiao Shou quietly looked at the 2 secret keys in her hands. These 2 secret keys were given to her by her father and father-in-law. They believed that with her master's protection, they would be safe and sound. Di Beichen, I will never give this secret key to you. Gradually closing her hands, Xiao Shou's eyes revealed a bone-deep hatred. Even if she couldn't do anything now, at least she wouldn't let the Di family have the opportunity to open the land of inheritance. After the elders discussed the wedding process of Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan properly, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the Di family. However, in these 2 days, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stay idle, but went to discuss medical skills with Dr. Wu. As the most famous doctor in the upper realm, Wu Weiming's strength was naturally unquestionable. What moved Bailey Hongzhuang the most was that after Wu Weiming knew the direction of the Bailey family, he simply moved directly to the Bailey family. It was very convenient to come and go between the 3 great families. In addition, there were many people in the Bailey family who wanted to learn medical skills, so it was more convenient for him to come here. During this time, Wu Weiming's medical skills had also improved. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Wu Weiming also spoke out the doubts in his heart during this time. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang also answered one by one. Some of the questions were things she didn't understand before, but after learning from Grandma Hua, her medical skills had an extraordinary leap. So when faced with these questions, she was able to calmly deal with them. Even if the immortal region had some medicinal herbs that the upper realm didn't have, there were still many problems that could be solved. The only difference was that the medicinal herbs in the celestial realm were more plentiful, so the medical content was also more abundant. When Wu Weiming saw how easily Bailey Hongzhuang had solved all his problems, his heart was filled with shock. He had always felt that his master had been busy cultivating these days and probably didn't have time to study medicine. But now, it seemed that his master was a completely heaven-defying existence. It wasn't that she didn't study medicine. On the contrary, her improvement in medical skills was astonishing. With Bailey Hongzhuang's explanation, Wu Weiming only felt that his eyes were clear. The problem that had been troubling him for a long time was solved just like that. It even gave him more ideas, making his eyes light up. It turned out that many of the problems were due to the limitations of his thinking. There were still many bold directions that he could try. Bailey Hongzhuang saw such a studious Wu Weiming, and her heart was very pleased. With Wu Weiming here to teach the doctors of the Bailey family, the expansion of the medical family would definitely be faster. As for the doctors of the Bailey family who were studying medicine, they completely regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as a god. Every day they cultivated with Dr. Wu, and they had deep admiration in their hearts. Chapter 62-63. As soon as they returned to the clan, the elders started to get busy like a raging fire. The number of things needed to be prepared for a grand wedding was huge. Just the guest list for the banquet alone was a long list. Diyu Jue was also in a mess under the bombardment of Xia Wanrong and Lin Yunqing. This kind of thing was indeed more suitable for women to worry about. Even as the head of the clan, he was also shocked by these various complicated problems and was even disliked by the 2 women in the end. It was only when Di Beichen came to him that he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. We're finally out of the house. Diyu Jue felt the fresh air outside and only felt his entire body relax. Looking at Diyu Jue like this, Di Beichen could not help but chuckle. It was really rare to see his father like this. Your grandfather is still the smart one. He found a reason to slip away. Diyu Jue sighed faintly. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. Then why didn't you also find a reason to leave? Your grandmother said that someone must stay. If your grandfather left, how could I still leave? As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but laugh. As early as 2 days ago, she had already seen how busy her grandmother and mother were. At this time, it was completely the 2 women's world. Her father's usual majesty had been completely ignored and even reduced to a subordinate. Diyu Jue sighed and shook his head, then said, Why are you looking for me? Father, I went to the land of inheritance with Hongzhuang earlier. There are some things I want to ask you, Di Beichen said. Hearing this, Diyu Jue was not surprised. The land of inheritance was at the back of the mountain. It was reasonable that Beichen and the rest wanted to go and see it. What's the problem? Didn't you say that to open the land of inheritance, you need the blood of us and the Shao clan's cultivators? I remember father saying that after the 2 types of blood fuse, it will turn black. That way the land of heritage can be opened. Is this true? Diyu Jue nodded slightly. That's right. Only when two types of blood turn black can the land of heritage be opened. Have you tried it? Di Bei-chin and Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at each other, their expressions a bit complicated. Their blood did not turn black after the fusion. Looking at the two's expressions, Diyu Jue already knew the result. He smiled and said, "This is nothing much. Now that the Shao clan has basically been exterminated by us, it is impossible for them to open the land of inheritance. Although the land of heritage has always been of great benefit to our family, even if we can't open it with our family's ability, it won't be a problem. So you don't have to worry about it." The two of them understood. In fact, the land of heritage had always been protecting the feelings of the three great clans. Originally, even without the Jun clan, as long as the relationship between the Shao clan and the Di clan was as before, then everything would not have fallen to this point. However, long before Diyu Jue made such a decision, he already knew the consequences of such a decision. Even if the land of heritage was not opened, it would not have much of an impact on the Di clan. However, if the Shao clan and the Jun clan were left, then the clan would be in real danger. Then why did my blood turn gold when Hongzhuang and I fused? Di Bei-chin still felt that this was a little strange. Normally, even if the blood of two people had no effect, it should still be the usual color, right? Chapter 62-64. Following Di Bei-chin's words, Diyu Jue's expression suddenly changed, his eyes filled with disbelief. "What did you just say? After your blood fused it turned golden?" "That's right." Di Bei-chin nodded slightly. "Is there a problem?" Diyu Jue did not answer, his expression instantly becoming complicated. His mind was spinning rapidly as if he was thinking of some complicated problem. "Golden blood, this seems to have appeared in ancient books before, I have to go through them." Because the land of heritage had not been opened for too many years, it was not easy for Bei-chin, a clan member with the cursed body, to appear, but in the end he went missing. All these years he had been thinking about how to find Bei-chin. However, after Bei-chin returned, many problems arose, including the falling out with the Shao family. Because of this, he did not have much hope for the land of heritage. Now, his memories of the land of heritage were still stuck in the past. After all, it was still somewhat blurry. However, he was sure that the ancient books had indeed recorded the matter of golden blood, and although the situation of golden blood was recorded in the ancient books, in all these years, such a situation had never appeared in the Di family. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei-chin were somewhat surprised. They had thought that this was a normal phenomenon, but now it seemed that this was not the case. This information was obviously extremely important to Diyu Jue. After saying this, Diyu Jue did not bother to explain in detail, and after a few words he quickly left. The direction he left in was obviously the family's library. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Perhaps this golden blood is even more powerful than the black blood. Even if she was not of the Shao family's bloodline, her light attribute was stronger than Shao Sou's. Most importantly, when she saw the land of heritage, she and Bei-chin had fallen into that strange feeling, this land of heritage should be related to them. Very likely. Di Bei-chin nodded and held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. "After all, my wife and I are a match made in heaven." Bailey Hongzhuang burst into laughter. "Every time you say something like that so seriously, I always find it funny." "I'm telling the truth. Shouldn't I take it seriously?" Di Bei-chin said calmly. "You're right." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, pretending to be serious. After returning to the house, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Bei-chin began to cultivate. After Mo Yunjue and the others understood the terrifying strength of the cultivators of the immortal region, they no longer had the mood to play around. Instead, they wholeheartedly began to cultivate. If this continued, they didn't know how long they would need the four seniors to protect them. Moreover, they were about to explore the sea. Although there were not many cultivators in the sea, it was much more dangerous than on land. Because very few human cultivators set foot in the sea, the demonic beasts in the sea had enough space to develop. After a long period of cultivation, these demonic beasts' strength would often be very shocking. And this was also one of the reasons why very few people went to the sea. If they were not careful and lost their lives there, they would not even have a corpse left. Now, their cultivation was not bad in the upper realm, but they still had to make more preparations to go to the sea. However, the two of them did not cultivate for long before Diyu Jue appeared outside their door. Chapter 62-65. Diyu Jue's face was filled with unconcealable excitement. He directly handed the ancient book in his hand to Di Bei-chin and said, There is indeed a record in the ancient book. It says that once the blood turns golden, it means that the destined person for the inheritance has appeared. As soon as he said this, Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were both slightly stunned. This result was truly beyond their expectations. Because it has never appeared in so many years, the records in the book are not very complete. However, I saw some records in the patriarch's handwritten notes. It says that the most important reason why we have the land of heritage is that we have always been guarding a kind of inheritance, and this inheritance is waiting for the destined person. Too much time has passed and some of the contents in the handwritten notes have been worn away. I guess that it's because there hasn't been any movement for so many years, so everyone gradually neglected this point. If you hadn't mentioned this point, I'm afraid I wouldn't have thought of it. Di Yujua's voice was filled with deep excitement. In fact, he had always felt that it was too difficult to open the land of heritage, especially after so many years had passed without opening it. The entire clan no longer paid much attention to it. However, at a time like this, Di Baichen and Hong Zhuang's blood had actually appeared. This in itself was very inconceivable. Di Baichen carefully read the records in the ancient book. As expected, it described the situation when the golden blood appeared. Previously, when he and Hong Zhuang tried it, the situation was exactly the same as described in the book. It really is like this. The corners of Di Baichen's lips curled up slightly. His heart was also filled with shock. He clearly remembered the complex emotions he had when he saw the land of heritage. It was like a call from the depths of his soul, as if there was something important that he had forgotten, and the forgotten thing was in the land of heritage. Was the situation at the time the same as described in the book? Di Yujua asked. That's right, it was exactly the same. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded in response. Hearing this, Di Yujua narrowed his eyes, and his gaze became solemn and serious. If that's the case, then we can't give up on finding the secret key. If it was a normal situation, it would have been fine. Although it was hard to give up, if he thought about it carefully, giving up wouldn't have much of an impact. However, just from the sound of it, one could tell that the destined person was extraordinary. This could be an extremely important inheritance for Di Baichen. It would be such a pity if it was gone just like that. For the entire Di family, this was too much of a pity. Seeing the change in Di Yujua's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen didn't say anything, but they had the same idea. He could not give up on the secret key just like that. No matter what was in the land of heritage, they had to go in and take a look. Don't be in a hurry to tell anyone about this for the time being. I still don't know much about this. I was too anxious just now and didn't ask your grandfather. I'll go and ask tomorrow. Who knows, your grandfather might have a better understanding. It won't be too late for us to discuss it then. Di Yujua patted Di Baichen's shoulder and reminded him. Don't worry, father. I understand. Good. When Di Yujua left, Bailey Hongzhuang knew very well that if Xiao Soa didn't have Shu Yu's protection, her father would have directly captured her and brought her back. Chapter 62-66. The next day, Di Lin Xian was equally shocked when he heard the news. However, he was pleasantly surprised. The fated person that the family had been waiting for so many years had finally appeared. Moreover, it was Di Baichen. I always thought that it was just a legend. I never thought that it would be true. Di Lin Xian had a kind smile on his face. However, his eyes were still filled with disbelief. I still remember when the previous head of the family mentioned this to me. He also felt that it was not true and that the previous head of the family had made it up to make us realize the importance of the land of heritage. The Di family has been passed down for thousands of years. However, it has never appeared before. I never thought that this fable would come true today. Even though they had not seen the fusion of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen's blood with their own eyes, Di Lin Xian and Di Yujua did not doubt it at all. Not to mention that Di Baichen and Di Yujua could not talk to each other, not many people in the family knew about the golden blood. Grandfather, do you know any other clues? Di Baichen had a serious expression. He vaguely felt that his grandfather would tell him more clues today. Di Lin Xian patted Di Baichen's head and smiled. Indeed. According to what I know, the golden blood is very special. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen both became serious and listened carefully. Although this inheritance belongs to the Di family, it has always been guarded by the three great families together. Too much time has passed and we no longer know the reason for it. However, we can be sure that one of them must have the light attribute. Now, it seems that as long as the light attribute is pure enough, the Xiao family's bloodline is not the only one that can do it. Di Lin Xian smiled faintly and said, apart from the fated person, there is something else that the previous head of the family told me. Usually, if we want to open the land of heritage, we need 3 secret keys in addition to the fusion of the blood and turning it black. However, when the golden blood appears, the situation seems to be different. As for why it is different, I am not too sure. However, we can give it a try. For thousands of years, the golden blood had never appeared. Even if the first head of the family knew about it, it had been forgotten by everyone after so many years. Different? Di Baichen's eyes lit up. Does this mean that we can open it directly? Perhaps we can use this one and only secret key to give it a try. Di Yujue raised his brows and his face was filled with interest. If they could open the land of heritage in their lifetime, it would be a rare experience. Everyone looked at each other with a hint of eagerness in their eyes. Should we try it after Big Brother's wedding? Di Baichen pondered for a moment before speaking. It was only a month until his elder brother's wedding. If he entered the land of inheritance like this, he was afraid that he would not be able to come out for a while. Listening to Di Baichen's words, Di Linxian and Di Yuju glanced at each other. According to their thoughts, they wanted to give it a try. After all, the land of heritage was very important to them. However, if the 2 important women in the family knew that they might not be there on the day of the wedding, they would definitely go crazy. After thinking about it carefully, both of them felt that Di Baichen's idea was correct. Chapter 62-67. After he made up his mind, everything returned to normal. This news was undoubtedly good news for everyone. Even if they didn't know whether this attempt would succeed or not, since they knew that the golden blood was special, they had to find a way to open the land of inheritance. At least, this was no longer a dispensable land of inheritance. On the contrary, it might be very important to Di Baichen. When the other people in the family knew about this, they were also very surprised. Xiao Wanrong, Di Xiaofeng and the others were very happy. If the land of inheritance could really be opened, then their Di family would really be a big winner. After returning to the family, Di Baichen often went to the Dark Sacred Assembly. As the president of the Dark Sacred Assembly, he had a responsibility to the Dark Sacred Assembly. However, for the Dark Sacred Assembly, Di Baichen was more like a religion. Even if he was rarely in the guild, his position in everyone's hearts would never change. Huang Futing had always been very good at handling guild matters. The vice president's identity was really suitable for him. After leaving the family, he had already regarded the Dark Sacred Assembly as his own home. As the status of Dark Attribute cultivators rose, more and more people began to accept Dark Attribute cultivators. In fact, even the other 7 guilds had already accepted them. Everyone had to accept them even if they didn't want to. Not to mention that the Dark Guild was now at the peak of its power. The Huangfu family's attitude towards Huang Futing had also changed. They even specially sent people to find Huang Futing. No matter what, Huang Futing was an extremely outstanding talent of the Huangfu family. In this regard, Huang Futing had no plans to go back. Everything back then had already made him see through the family's coldness. If it was only because he was now the vice president of the Dark Sacred Assembly and had a certain use to the family, then what was the point of going back? After experiencing ups and downs, he felt that it was better to live a simple life. What's more, Wanner had abandoned the family because of him. Now, the only hope was to no longer have anything to do with the past. Just this point alone made it impossible for him to go back. Di Baichen didn't persuade Huang Futing after hearing his decision. If it were him, he probably wouldn't want to go back to such a family. After all, he'd fallen from his pedestal and been deserted by his friends and family, and he'd even endured such pain that pierced his bones. So, he felt that it was extremely ironic to face these snakes that were feigning civility. While Di Baichen was busy with the matters of the Dark Guild, Bailey Hongzhuang made a trip to the Holy Light Assembly and then stayed with her family. Lan Yunxiao and the others had also awakened their attributes and began to cultivate their attribute powers. Even Di Yujue couldn't help but praise the increase in their strength. With this kind of cultivation talent, if he had been in the upper realm in the past, he would have been famous by now. However, even if it was a little late, it was not a big deal. During this month, Bailey Hongzhuang decided to spend more time with her family. He was always busy with his cultivation, and in the future he would have to go to the sea to look for the treasure map. He had too little time to spend with his family. Lan Yunxiao and the rest also understood Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. Everyone temporarily slowed down their cultivation. Actually, as parents, the happiest thing was to get along well with their children. Chapter 62-68. On this day, the Di family had arrived at the Lin family early in the morning. Today's wedding was held in the Lin family. Xia Wanrong and the others had already lived in the Lin family a few days ago and had made all the necessary preparations. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang split up and went to the Lin family and the Bailey family respectively. Di Beichen was Di Xiaofeng's younger brother. On the day of his big brother's wedding, he naturally had to help pick up the bride. Bailey Hongzhuang was the head of the Bailey family and had to stay with the Bailey family to organize everything. Inside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the festive scene outside, and the smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. Today is really a good day. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and turned to look at Bailey Yunyan, who had already dressed up. Her eyes revealed a stunned expression. Yunyan, you're so beautiful today. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bailey Yunyan was a little shy and said, Hongzhuang, you're overpraising me. In terms of beauty, you're the peerless beauty. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. The bride is always the most beautiful. I think when eldest brother sees you later, he will be very happy. Everyone, don't you think so? All the busy maids in the room smiled and agreed, Miss Yunyan is really beautiful today. Later the son-in-law will be stunned. With everyone's teasing, Bailey Yunyan's cheeks became even redder. Bailey Yunyan's mother and others were also busy helping to take care of things. Bailey Hongzhuang thought that before becoming a monk, mother and daughter had the most things to talk about. She might as well leave first and give Yunyan and her daughter a chance to talk. However, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang preparing to leave, Bailey Yunyan suddenly called out to her. Mother, you go out first. I have something to say to the head of the family. Elder Madam nodded and bowed to Bailey Hongzhuang. Then she walked out of the room and closed the door. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bailey Yunyan in surprise. She smiled and sat down. Is there anything you want to ask me? Bailey Yunyan shook her head. She just looked at him quietly. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. Hongzhuang, actually, on this joyous occasion, the person I want to thank the most is you. If it weren't for you, even if I knew Xiao Feng was sincere to me, I wouldn't dare accept his feelings, because the gap between us is too big. Bailey Yunyan's eyes suddenly reddened. Actually, I've liked him since a long time ago. I just didn't dare to admit it. He was so handsome, outstanding, and otherworldly. When I first met him, almost all the girls fell head over heels for him, and I was no exception. However, I never thought that such luck would fall on my head. It was too sudden and too surreal. During that time, I was struggling in my heart. On one hand, I wanted to believe Xiao Feng's words. I didn't need to care about anything, I just needed to trust him. On the other hand, I thought that with such a big gap, who would believe me? I even thought that even being a concubine would be good. At least I could stay by his side. However, I was afraid. With my background, what would happen to me if I were to go to his family? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the teary-eyed Bailey Yunyan, her hands holding the latter's slightly trembling hands, her smile warm and sunny. Yunyan, it's all in the past. Big brother has always been someone worthy of your trust. Chapter 62-69. No. Bailey Yunyan shook her head. I understand what you mean, but there's still a difference between the two. Compared to placing all my hopes on Xiao Feng, at least I have more confidence now. And because of you, no one will talk about my identity, so I have more confidence. Bailey Yunyan's eyes shone brightly as if they were filled with infinite hope. So, Hongzhuang, I really want to thank you. I've wanted to say this for a long time, but I didn't know how to say it. Today is the day I want to say it the most. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled elegantly. She patted Bailey Yunyan's hand and said, We're already a family, and I've always been happy to be able to come to the Bailey family. You'll definitely be happy and we'll walk the road together in the future. There's no need to say thanks between us. If it weren't for Bailey Yunyan, she wouldn't have been able to come to the Bailey family so smoothly. There were some things she couldn't say, but it was her responsibility to lead the Bailey family back to the top. She didn't know what the Bailey family would be like if she didn't fall, but she was sure that the family's legacy was lost because of her, and that was her biggest mistake. All of this wasn't for anyone else but for herself. She wanted to be able to feel at ease so that she wouldn't feel guilty anymore. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bailey Yunyan's smile became brighter. Hongzhuang, no matter when, you're always so considerate. Maybe it's because of your character that so many people like you. I believe that you'll go far in the future and you'll be happy forever. Among all of them, Bailey Hongzhuang was the one she admired the most, but she never thought of comparing herself to her. She only hoped that she could make Hongzhuang her goal and continue to work hard. She didn't expect to have great achievements. As long as she could live a good life, she would be satisfied. Soon the wedding procession arrived. The entire Bailey family was in a state of jubilation. Red flowers could be seen everywhere. Everyone's lips could not help but curl up into a smile as they sincerely wished the newlyweds well. As the young master of the Lin family, Di Xiaofeng's wedding procession was also very spectacular. From afar, the crowd could see a long line of people approaching, and the sound of firecrackers could be heard all the way. Bailey Yunyan covered her head with a red veil. With the support of her concubine, she bid farewell to her clansmen and slowly walked up the bridal sedan. Throughout the entire process, many people had tears in their eyes, but their hearts were filled with joy. This wedding was the grandest wedding in the history of the Bailey family. With the arrival of the wedding procession, Bailey Hongzhuang also went to the Lin family. The clamor and laughter were mixed together. Congratulatory voices could be heard everywhere. When one looked up, they could see smiles and joy. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. Now her grandmother didn't need to worry anymore. Xiaofeng was finally married. "Wife, you're here." As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, Di Beichen's sharp eyes noticed her. After apologizing to the people who came to congratulate her, he quickly came to her side. "Everyone is very busy today. You should also be busy receiving the guests." Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand as they walked inside. When they reached the side, he put his hands on her shoulders and said softly, "Today, it's not only me who is busy receiving the guests. As big brother's sister-in-law, you should also help." Chapter 6270. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "I'm not good at this kind of thing. It's okay if you're not good at it. Just stand next to me. If someone congratulates you, just smile. If there's nothing else, you can see if there's anything you like to eat. Grandmother and maternal grandmother have invited the best chefs for today. There should be a lot of delicious snacks." Di Beichen smiled. "Master, I want to go." Xiao Hei jumped up when she heard that there was delicious food. "Master, I want to go too." Xiao Bai said happily. They loved this kind of lively scene. They could eat a lot of delicious food. "Eat whatever you want today. Let the mistress bring you there." Di Beichen chuckled. "Okay." Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai jumped onto Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and looked at her. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded slightly. "Well, I will take you there in a while." "Oh yeah, where did Xiao Xuanzi go?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked curiously. Xiao Xuanzi was usually very interested in this kind of thing. Ever since he met Xiao Hua, Xiao Xuanzi was determined to lose weight and become a handsome young man. However, now that he was back, he wouldn't be able to go back for a while. He should be the most depressed one. Xiao Xuanzi is with Xiren and the others. He should be greeting people now. Di Beichen guessed Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. He immediately said, "He's been in a good mood recently. He doesn't seem to be disappointed. According to him, he often follows Xiao Hua around. Xiao Hua also thinks that he's annoying. Xiao Hua might miss him if he's not around for a while." Before he left, he even told Zhongli Mu to take care of Xiao Hua. He didn't want Xiao Hua to be taken away by other people. Bailey Hongzhuang was impressed. "Beichen, did you teach Xiao Xuanzi these thoughts? How does he look like a contracted beast? He's totally an experienced lover." "This has nothing to do with me." Di Beichen drew a clear line between them. "My feelings for wifey can be seen by the sun and the moon. I definitely don't have as many schemes as Xiao Xuanzi." "I don't know." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "Let's go. These two little guys are almost drooling." Emperor Xiaofeng was getting married. Almost all the major forces in the upper realm were gathered here. Such a grand occasion had never happened before, and it proved that the Di family and the Lin family had risen in status. No one could ignore the influence of the Di family and the Lin family, so they all came after receiving the wedding invitation. As for those who did not receive the wedding invitation, they were extremely disappointed. Even when night fell, the Lin family was still bustling with activity. "It's rare for us to be so happy today. Let's drink till we're drunk." When Xiren happily raised his cup. He was already slightly drunk and his cheeks were flushed red. His eyes were a little blurry, but the smile on his face became even more brilliant. "Well said. Let's drink to our heart's content today." Bang! Mo Yunjue raised his glass and touched it gently. The two drank to their heart's content. Di Beichen and the others were all gathered here. Everyone was talking to each other happily. "It's a pity that Xiaofeng is with the bride now. Otherwise we'll get him to drink with us." Ah. Chapter 6271. We definitely will. Everyone raised their cups and downed the wine in one gulp. "Xiren, you talk too much when you drink too much." Shengguan Ying pointed at Xiren drunkenly. Our relationship is so good, of course we will be together in the future. Ah, you're right. I'll punish myself with a glass. How can Yunyan and I miss such a good day? Suddenly, a hearty laughter was heard. Then, Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan's figures appeared in everyone's sight. Noticing the sudden appearance of the two people, everyone was startled. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. Why are you here? Di Xiaofeng pulled Bailey Yunyan to sit down and smiled. Why can't I be here? I have to be here when we drink to our heart's content. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. Their good mood became even better. Ah, good. Come, let's all congratulate Xiaofeng and Yunyan. That night, everyone drank to their heart's content. In the end, they didn't even know what happened. When Bailey Hongzhuang woke up the next morning, she still felt a little dizzy. With their strength, even if they had a hangover, it wouldn't affect them much the next day. However, they were still a little dizzy, which proved that they drank too much last night. However, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the person sleeping next to her wasn't Di Beichen. Yingha. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the dazed Shengguan Ying and couldn't help but laugh. We slept together last night. Shengguan Ying was a little confused. After a while she said, I was so drunk last night that I forgot what happened. I vaguely remember that the two of us supported each other as we walked into the room. I don't know what happened after that. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Because they were too happy last night, everyone was a little carried away. With their capacity for alcohol, how much did they drink? It seems so. Shengguan Ying nodded slightly. Let's go out and take a look. Naturally, they couldn't have been outside the whole night, right? The two of them looked at each other. After washing up, they quickly walked out of the house. Looking at the scene outside, the two of them found it funny. In his line of sight, when Xiren, Bai Lianche and Xiao Xuanzi had already fallen crookedly on the ground. It seemed that they were still sleeping soundly. Bai Lianche quietly lay on his side. Xiren directly put his feet on Bai Lianche's body and slept very comfortably with his four limbs sprawled out. Xiao Xuanzi's feet were right next to his face. On the other hand, Linger and Mo Yunjue slept more elegantly. Both of them fell asleep on the table. Shengguan Ying covered her eyes and said with disgust, "This is too embarrassing." Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. If they wake up and see this scene, it will be very funny. But where did Beichen go? Last night they obviously drank too much. However, Xiaofeng and Yunyan didn't drink too much. So they went back first. Everyone was here, only Di Beichen was nowhere to be seen. Yes, where did Beichen go? Shengguan Ying asked curiously. Chapter 62-72. Mo Yunjue looked at the scene in front of him, and quickly thought of yesterday's situation. He immediately sighed, "You actually slept here last night?" Ling also looked embarrassed. As a well-mannered dragon, she usually wouldn't be so careless about her image. Looking at their slightly awkward expressions, Shengguan Ying directly said, "The two of you are still all right. Look at them." Hearing that, Mo Yunjue and Ling were slightly startled. The tables and chairs blocked their view, and the two couldn't help but walk over to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. They immediately saw Xiren and the other two sleeping soundly. Haha, Mo Yunjue laughed out loud, which was a rare sight. Their sleeping positions are really too enchanting. Looking carefully, only Yin Che's sleeping position is passable. Finally, Xiren and Xiao Xuanzi, I really don't know what to say. Shengguan Ying sighed. Usually, Xiren's sleeping position was fine. After all, one shouldn't wash one's dirty linen in public. Great, now everyone saw it. When 4 pairs of eyes fell on a person, even if that person was originally sleeping soundly, they would still be somewhat aware of it. Therefore, Xiren slowly woke up under everyone's gaze. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw 4 pairs of eyes looking at him. He immediately quivered, and his face directly touched Xiao Xuanzi's foot. He subconsciously picked up the thing that touched his face, and after noticing that it was actually a foot, he hurriedly threw it aside and sat up. When he saw that it was Shengguan Ying and the other 3, he sighed in relief. What's going on? See for yourself what's going on. When he turned his head, Bai Lianche and Xiao Xuanzi had also woken up. Their blank expressions caused everyone to chuckle. Ahem. Faced with everyone's mocking gazes, Xiren also felt a little embarrassed. He couldn't help but ask, where did Beichen go? I don't know. In my opinion, Beichen might be sleeping in a corner that we didn't notice. Let's go look for him, Xiren said. You're looking for me? Di Baichen's figure slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Compared to Xiren and the others who were in a mess, Di Baichen's appearance was refreshing. Baichen, did you wake up earlier than us so you went to change your clothes first? Xiren couldn't help but ask when he saw Di Baichen suddenly appear. I went back to my room to sleep last night, Di Baichen said frankly. Liar. Xiao Xuanzi's face was full of disbelief. Yesterday you clearly drank more than us. Why did I sleep with Yingying when you went back to your room? Bailey Hongzhuang was confused. Di Baichen smiled faintly. Last night I planned to go back with you, but you and Yingying were together after drinking too much. I asked you to go back but you said you wanted to be with Yingying, so I went back after sending you to your room. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shengguan Yingying looked at each other, their minds quickly recalling the fragmented memories of last night. Suddenly, when a picture appeared in their minds, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but stick out her tongue. Seems to be true. No way? Xiren looked frustrated. Since you were fine last night, why didn't you send me back to my room? Chapter 6273. Haha. Until lunchtime, Shengguan Yingying and the rest could not help but laugh at Xiren and Xiao Xuanzi. The scene of these two guys being drunk was really funny. Even Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan could not help but laugh when they heard about it. Come on, aren't they just drunk? You can't keep laughing at us, right? Xiren put down his chopsticks. Was it because he could not stand the laughter anymore? It's okay, haha. Shengguan Yingying chuckled. It's just that the situation was really funny. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiren and Shengguan Yingying. She secretly sighed that Xiren was destined to fall in Yingying's hands. Among all of them, Shengguan Yingying was the one who laughed the loudest. Xiao Xuanzi helplessly patted Xiren's shoulder. Brother, you have to take good care of your wife. For this grand wedding, the Lin family held a banquet for 7 days and invited all forces to come and play. Because of this, there were all kinds of temporary markets in the city. It was very lively. The 100 Lane clan's status rose again because of this matter. They had jumped from an unknown small clan to a clan with great potential that attracted a lot of attention. Everyone knew that with the help of so many forces, the Bailey family's rise was only a matter of time. Di family. When Di Baichen and the rest returned to the family, the whole family was still in a happy atmosphere. However, Di Yujue and the rest had already focused on the land of inheritance. After knowing about this, everyone could not wait to find out if they could open the land of inheritance with their power. It would be best if they could open it without the 3 keys. Therefore, on this day Di Yujue organized a group of talented cultivators from the Di family to go to the back mountain. Standing in front of the land of inheritance, Di Linshen and Di Yujue looked at the altar and the closed door in front of them seriously. All these years they would occasionally come here to take a look, but they never had the chance to open it. Baichen, if this land of heritage can really be opened, that would be great. Di Xiaofeng's heart was filled with excitement. His father hadn't told him this before and he had only just found out. Growing up in the clan, many people would inadvertently mention the land of heritage, saying that if the clan did not have the land of heritage, it would be impossible for them to have their current status. It was precisely because of this that he was even more curious. He did not know what kind of power existed in the land of heritage that would be of such great help to the clan. Di Baichen's expression was complicated. Even though it was his second time here, his mood was inevitably affected. What did this place have to do with him? Big brother, we still can't be sure if we can really open it. Di Baichen pursed his lips. If we can't open it, we have to find a way to find the secret key. Even if Shu Yu is protecting Xiao Shou, we have to get it. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng nodded seriously. You're right. It's rare for a destined person to appear. If we can't enter the land of heritage to take a look, I won't be able to accept it. Although Shu Yu's power far surpassed theirs, Shu Yu could protect them for a while, but not forever. Once their power surpassed Shu Yu, they would definitely find Xiao Shou and ask for the secret key's location. Chapter 6274. All the cultivators from the Di family stood on the spot with solemn expressions. In front of them was the foundation of the Di family. If it were not for the land of heritage, the Di family would not have been able to stand out among so many forces and become stronger step by step to achieve their current status. Even though the land of heritage had not been opened for many years, its position in the hearts of every member of the Di family was unshakable. If they could enter the land of heritage, it would be their pride. As Di Linshen and Di Yujue bowed respectfully, Di Baichen and the others also bowed respectfully. At this moment, Di Lin Xian turned his head and said, "Regarding the records of the golden blood, the ancient books do not have complete records because it has never appeared for so many years. Therefore we don't know what the result will be. Perhaps this door cannot be opened at all. However, I hope that everyone will not be discouraged because we will definitely find the other two secret keys. It's only a matter of time." Hearing the magnetic and majestic voice, everyone present nodded. They were indeed very hopeful about opening the land of heritage. However, the possibility of not being able to open it was indeed very high. After noticing the changes in everyone's expressions, Di Lin Xian raised his hand and said, "Baichen Hongzhuang, you may begin." Bailey Hongzhuang and the two of them looked at each other and smiled faintly. Then the two of them slowly walked forward. With a slash of their sharp blades, blood dripped onto the round tray in the center of the altar. After the two's blood merged with the altar, everyone quieted down and focused their attention on the altar. The bright red blood flowed and gradually the blood began to change. It slowly turned into the color of gold leaf. It was as dazzling as gold, but it was shockingly pure. Looking at the golden blood, Diu Jue and the others could not help but be moved. This was because the blood looked extraordinary at first glance and had a power that could shake one's heart. Over the years they had tried to merge the blood but there was no change at all. However, this golden color was too magical. When all the blood had turned golden, it gradually merged with the altar. Then, everyone turned their attention to the door of the land of heritage. Diu Jue handed the Di family's secret key to Di Baichen. Di Baichen also took the secret key and slowly walked forward. Looking at the three keyholes in the center of the door, he placed one of the secret keys. The moment Di Baichen placed the secret key on the door, a ray of light shot up into the sky. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. They quickly stabilized their figures, but they couldn't help but feel a strong sense of anticipation in their hearts. And in fact, this had never happened in the history of the Di family. A black power gradually rose from the land of inheritance, and in the blink of an eye, it had already wrapped Di Baichen. Everyone stared blankly at Di Baichen, who was enveloped by the black light. He seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep and his body slowly rose into the air. Chapter 6275. A terrifying black energy appeared in mid-air like a giant beast. It was clearly daytime, but it was now as dark as night. Di Baichen stood in mid-air. His handsome, godlike face was expressionless. His eyes, which were as deep as the sea, were filled with arrogance and indifference. Unlike his usual expression at this moment, everyone felt that Di Baichen was a god revered by tens of thousands. No one dared to meet his indifferent gaze. An indescribable aura of nobility emanated from his body. It was arrogant, disdainful, and condescending. It was as if he could control the fate of the world with a wave of his hand. Everyone present stared at this scene in shock. This Di Baichen was so unfamiliar, yet he possessed a terrifying power that made one's heart palpitate. What's going on with Baichen? Xiren stared blankly at this scene. This was the first time he felt that Baichen was so foreign to him. Destined person. Is this the destined person? Di Lin Xian murmured. Ever since they found out about the concept of the destined person, they had been pondering over the true meaning of the destined person. Di Baichen was the Di family's cursed body cultivator who had only appeared in the past 100 years. They had already realized that he was extraordinary from the moment he was born. To be able to return alive after leaving the family for so many years was already very shocking. Everything led them to believe that Di Baichen was the one who could open the land of heritage. However, the scene before them had exceeded their understanding. Perhaps Di Baichen was even more shocking than they had imagined. Diu Jue was also shocked to see this power that exceeded their understanding. This change was no longer something they could understand. Perhaps what they had understood in the past was not the true power of the land of heritage. The land of heritage that had been opened in the past was just a reward for their family. However, what Baichen had just touched was the true inheritance of their family. Just as everyone was thinking, the black energy became more and more terrifying. A terrifying aura that they had never seen before exploded. The entire Di family was instantly enveloped by this black energy. Everyone felt as if they had seen a god. The terrifying pressure forced everyone to kneel down in submission. This kind of power had completely exceeded their understanding. It was a power that no one could possess. In the mountains surrounding the Di family, the mystical beasts crawled on the ground and trembled. They did not dare to raise their heads. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others who were closest to them felt that under the suppression of this power they could not even move. Everyone couldn't help but kneel down, but only a white figure stood in place, staring blankly at the astonishing figure. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around. She didn't know why everyone had already knelt down, but only she could still stand. However, facing Di Beichen in this state, she only felt a distant and unfamiliar emotion emerge in her heart. However, before she could understand what kind of emotion it was, it had already disappeared. Di Beichen's gaze slowly fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang. It was a complicated, unfamiliar, yet somewhat familiar gaze. In the next moment, the black light enveloped Di Beichen and swept him into the land of heritage. Only when the terrifying aura disappeared, Di Yujue and the others were able to raise their heads. Their bodies relaxed. Chapter 6276. Phew, all the cultivators present were panting heavily. The scene just now was simply too horrifying. Under that kind of terrifying suppression, even breathing became exceptionally difficult. What happened just now? Di Xiaofeng could not help but ask, where did Beichen go? Everyone present looked at each other. In the face of that terrifying power they all lowered their heads. They did not even have the courage to raise their heads. It was because of this that they did not know what happened after that and where Beichen went. Beichen entered the land of inheritance, Bailey Hongzhuang said. She was probably the only one who knew about this scene. Hearing this, Di Yujua's eyes lit up. So, Beichen also successfully entered? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That's right. Di Linxuan's expression was complicated. Although Di Beichen entered the land of inheritance, the situation was clearly quite different from what they had imagined. What was the so-called destined person? Why did he have such terrifying power? It was too scary just now. Beichen's aura also became very unfamiliar. I wonder what's going on? Chengguan Yingying frowned. At that moment, she felt that the person standing in midair was not the Beichen they were familiar with. Instead, he was a natural ruler, cold and terrifying. Bailey Hongzhuang also fell into deep thought. I don't know what's going on either. However, when Beichen comes out, perhaps we will know. Hongzhuang, this happened after you and Beichen's blood fused. Why did only Beichen enter and you didn't? Di Xiaofeng was a little puzzled. Although the land of inheritance was opened with the help of the Xiao family, the Xiao family's cultivators had also entered every time. Logically speaking, Hongzhuang should have entered as well. As soon as the words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously, everyone had already surrendered uncontrollably. Only Bailey Hongzhuang was still standing in the same place. This had already revealed her uniqueness. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Big brother, this is the legacy of the Di family. I'm just an opportunity. Beichen is the one destined for it. You're right. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. In the past, the land of heritage was entered together with the cultivators of the family. Now that only Beichen has entered, I wonder what the situation will be like. No matter what, someone finally made it in. Di Linxian smiled faintly. Xiao Yanlong and Junhong Cheng have always hoped that our Di family would never be able to open the land of inheritance. Now it seems like they have already failed. Following Di Beichen's disappearance, everyone tried again. After confirming that the door to the land of inheritance was indeed unable to open, Di Linxian allowed the group of disciples to return. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not return. They did not know when Di Beichen would come out. Moreover, when Di Beichen entered previously, his condition was clearly different from usual. They did not know if there would be any problems. Bailey Hongzhuang guarded the entrance of the land of inheritance every day, waiting for Di Beichen's safe return. According to Di Yujue and the rest, the land of inheritance was the inheritance of the Di family. Even if they had entered the land of inheritance in the past, it was not very dangerous. Beichen was also destined for it. There should not be any danger in entering. Chapter 6277. Every day Di Linxian and Di Yujue would also come over to take a look. Because such a situation had never happened before, no one was sure when Beichen would come out. However, according to past experience, he wouldn't be in the land of inheritance for too long. Father, I feel like this land of inheritance is prepared for darkness attribute cultivators? Di Xiaofeng looked at the closed door and pondered, black blood, black energy. Perhaps we should have discovered this a long time ago. The probability of darkness attribute cultivators appearing was as low as light attribute cultivators. Among the various attributes, the probability of these two attributes appearing was the lowest. In the history of the D family, darkness attribute cultivators had appeared before, but no one had thought about it carefully. Dujua fell into deep thought. That black light is indeed very special. Baichen is of the darkness attribute and founded the Dark Sacred Assembly. If we link everything together, it is indeed possible. Although the family has opened the land of inheritance in the past, that kind of black light has never appeared, so the previous patriarchs didn't pay much attention to it. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. I still can't forget the scene of that day. That aura was too shocking. I feel that Beichen's future will be beyond our imagination. Following Di Xiaofeng's words, no one present objected. In fact, everyone had the same thoughts in their hearts. Di Beichen's performance was already very shocking, but now it seemed that the situation was even more shocking than they thought. Beichen's future might be beyond their imagination. Hongzhuang, why haven't you spoken much recently? Di Xiaofeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion. Hongzhuang had always been the most concerned about Beichen, but these days Hongzhuang seemed to be particularly quiet. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. I just feel that this matter is very mysterious. It seems like I vaguely touched on something but I can't understand it. How do you feel? Di Yujue turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. He clearly remembered her performance that day. Originally, when he knew that Beichen and Hongzhuang's blood could turn golden after fusing, he already felt that it was very magical. Now, it seemed that there were still some things that they did not think of. Ever since the two of them had joined forces, the compatibility they had shown had already exceeded expectations. Even in the land of heritage, Hongzhuang's performance was different from ordinary people. It was obvious that there must be a reason for this. I feel that the aura emitted by Beichen that day is somewhat similar to the aura I felt at the Statue of Darkness. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said, but it's a little different, but the feeling of power is the same. It's really amazing. Statue of Darkness? Di Xiaofeng was slightly startled. I've never been to the Statue of Darkness, but after you mentioned it, I feel that it's really possible. He did not have the darkness attribute, and when he was in the ancient battlefield, he only felt the aura of the Statue of Light. Originally, he did not think in this direction at all, but after Hongzhuang's reminder, he felt that the powerful and terrifying aura was comparable to no other power except for the Statue of Light. Statue of Darkness, Land of Heritage. Chapter 6278. Forget it. Even if we rack our brains here, I'm afraid we won't be able to come up with an answer. When Beichen comes out, perhaps we'll understand everything. Diyujua sighed at first, then a smile appeared on his face. Even if he couldn't enter the land of inheritance when Beichen comes out, they would have a better understanding of it. For the rest of the time, everyone waited quietly outside. Bailey Hongzhuang was immersed in cultivation every day. To her, she had long been used to the long hours of cultivation. She didn't find it boring at all. During this period of time, everyone had also discovered the benefits of the devouring spirit stone. Usually, everyone's cultivation was constantly increasing, but their mental energy was only passively increasing. After cultivating to a certain level, the lag in mental energy would actually affect one's strength. However, even if everyone had discovered this problem, there was no way to improve it. Now that they had the devouring spirit stone, everyone's strength increased even faster. Hongzhuang, I heard that the family head and old family head have broken through again. Bailey Yunyan brought some food over. Once she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't help but speak. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. So father's cultivation was actually hindered by mental energy. This is great. Isn't that so? Bailey Yunyan was full of smiles. Recently, the entire family has been jubilant. Everyone has been praising the miraculous effects of the treasures you brought back. The family head's strength was linked to the family's influence. Di Linxian and Di Yujue's strength had increased, so the Di family's position would be more stable. The devouring spirit stone is indeed a good thing. With such an effect, we're all very happy. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but recall what Fang Qing had said. According to him, because the people of the immortal domain had closed the entrance to the immortal domain, there were more and more cultivators in the immortal domain. Under such circumstances, even the difficulty of ascension had become much greater than before. When this was first mentioned, she didn't pay too much attention to it. However, now that she thought about it carefully, would it be more difficult to ascend to the immortal domain because of this change? Whether it was her father or grandfather, they were all very powerful. Although there was still a slight gap between them and Shuyu, according to normal circumstances, as long as they had a certain understanding of the laws of heaven and earth, they wouldn't be too far away from ascension. Now, it was unknown if the entrance to the immortal domain had been closed, so there didn't seem to be many people from the immortal domain to ascend. Could this be related to mental energy? Shuyu's answer, Shutes est to say, Shus to the immortal domain's situation. Shus, Shu estes naturally Shu, esti tell her. This matter it, ttst understand to understand? Ts now her biggest concern was Baichen. When they went in, Baichen's condition was too strange. Even if everyone thought that there wouldn't be any danger, she still wanted to stay here and understand the situation as soon as possible. Chapter 6279. Keep it? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly taken aback. I remember that I brought a portion of it to grandfather's house back then. Now that you mention it, it's funny. Bailey Yunyan's face was full of smiles. Back then, grandfather wanted to give the devouring spirit stone to grandfather, saying that there was a treasure that grandfather had never seen before to give to him to broaden his horizons. You also know that grandfather and grandfather have always liked to bicker, so when grandfather heard this, he thought that grandfather was showing off and threatened not to take it. Grandfather didn't persuade him, and only said that he would come back to take it when grandfather wanted it. So it was delayed until now? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. It had already been more than a month. Coincidentally, he was busy with Mai Xiaofeng's marriage, so grandfather didn't take it to heart. Only when he heard that grandfather had broken through recently did grandfather come over. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Then there's going to be a show to watch today. Isn't that so? Xiaofeng said that there's no need to worry about a fight, because grandfather's strength is now stronger than grandfather's. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Baichen has also been in the land of heritage for a month, and he hasn't come out yet. Could it be that there's an incredible inheritance here, so just learning it takes a long time? Shengguan Yingying looked curiously at the tightly shut door of the land of heritage. At their level, it was not unusual for them to go into seclusion for 3 to 5 years. Maybe this land of heritage has been here for at least 1,000 years. For a destined person to appear after so many years, the inheritance must be incredible. Xiren nodded. If that's really the case, then when Baichen comes out of seclusion, his strength will definitely be astonishing. Bai Li Yanche's eyes were filled with excitement. Although their cultivation would definitely not be as good as Baichen's, if Baichen's strength increased, then they would have more confidence when they went to the immortal region. Just as everyone was thinking, suddenly, an aura came from the land of heritage. Sensing this aura, everyone's expression changed. They looked forward expectantly, wondering if Baichen was about to come out. The door to the land of heritage slowly opened, and a tall and straight figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. Baichen. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly ran over. Wife. The moment Baichen saw Bailey Hongzhuang's figure, a smile appeared on his face. Standing in front of Baichen and looking at the familiar smile on his face and the emotions in his eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was completely relieved. Even now, she could still clearly remember the coldness on Baichen's face that day. Fortunately, it was only temporary. Baichen, how is the land of heritage? Everyone rushed over and looked at Baichen curiously. Is the inheritance inside very powerful? What happened when you went in that day? It's just too shocking. Faced with one question after another from the crowd, Baichen shook his head helplessly, then said, How long have I been in there? Not long, only a month. Bai Li Yanche replied. A month? Baichen was slightly startled. I've been in there for a month? Looking at Baichen's stunned expression, everyone was somewhat puzzled. What's wrong? Could it be that you felt time fly by in there? Chapter 6280. Following Baichen's words, everyone was stunned. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. It can't be? Did you just take a nap in there? Yes. Baichen nodded affirmatively. Actually, I don't know what happened. I only remember that I placed the secret key on the door. As for what happened after that, I don't remember. Seeing this, everyone looked at each other. This situation was clearly beyond their expectations. During this period of time, they had been thinking that Baichen must have received an incredible inheritance in the land of heritage. Who would have thought that the result would be like this? This is too strange. You went in with such a shocking lineup, but in the end you only went in to sleep. This is too unbelievable. Shengguan Yingying sighed. Bailey Hongzhuang asked, Beichen, did you not feel anything different during the entire process? Then how did you get out? I only slept deeply for a while. Something seemed to have happened, but I can't remember it clearly. When I woke up, I was already standing in front of the door. The moment I came out, I saw all of you. However, there was one thought in my mind, and that was that I must gather the 3 secret keys before returning here. Hearing this, everyone understood. It seems that we still need to gather the 3 secret keys before we can receive the true inheritance in the Land of Heritage. However, since you entered the Land of Heritage, I believe that you must have gained something. It's just that you don't remember it. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It was impossible for the Land of Inheritance to inexplicably suck people in. What's more, just this deep sleep was already a problem. If nothing had happened, Beichen would definitely not have slept for so long. Beichen nodded slightly. Perhaps so. Beichen, has your strength increased? Mo Yunjue suddenly asked. Probably not. Beichen shook his head, but in the next second his expression changed slightly. His deep and bright eyes gradually revealed a layer of surprise. How could this be? Seeing this, everyone stopped in their tracks and looked at Beichen curiously. Did you improve? My cultivation has indeed improved, said Beichen. I've broken through to the initial sun stage. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression froze. Then their faces were filled with joy. Starting Sun Realm? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a happy smile. That's a lot of improvement. She and Beichen were originally at the 5th level of the Heavenly Moon Realm, but Beichen had broken through to the initial Sun Realm. This was a huge leap. Beichen, your luck is so good that it makes people jealous. When Xiren shook his head ruefully, you only went in to sleep and your cultivation increased by so much. You're attracting too much hatred. He had been desperately cultivating every day, but the gap between him and Beichen was still widening little by little. If he and Yingying had not obtained the inheritance previously and closed the gap between their strengths, he would have been left far behind by Beichen. Everyone nodded ruefully. In the past, perhaps they did not have a clear definition of a God's favored child, but ever since they met Beichen, they clearly understood what a true God's favored child was. Chapter 6281. Seeing Wen Xiren's helpless look, Beichen reached out and patted him on the shoulder. There was a faint trace of sympathy in his expression. Haven't you already gotten used to being number 2 for a long time? Beichen, you've gone too far. Xiren was speechless. Had this fellow forgotten what modesty was? I haven't finished speaking. Why are you running away? Beichen ignored Xiren's ridicule and pulled Bailey Hongzhuang's hand as they walked towards the clan. Mo Yunjue and the rest shook their heads. Xiren had always been defeated by Beichen. This was something that would never change in this lifetime. After returning to the clan, Beichen immediately went to look for Yujue. His entry into the Land of Heritage had attracted the attention of the entire clan. Now that he had come out, he naturally had to go back and give an explanation. However, when Beichen arrived, he found that the place was unusually lively. Old man I think you're hiding it from me on purpose so that you can take the opportunity to cultivate and surpass me. Lin Wenlan looked at Lin Xian in dissatisfaction. He never thought that Lin Xian would give him such a good treasure. If he had known this earlier, he would never have thrown a tantrum and refused. However, he knew very well that Old Man D had done it on purpose. Their cultivations had always been about the same, but now, Old Man D had directly surpassed him. At that time, I gave it to you out of goodwill. You were the one who didn't want it, and now you're blaming me. Old Man Lin, the older you get, the more shameless you become. Lin Xian's face was calm and there was a hint of complacency in his eyes. You're the shameless one. Lin Wenlan said angrily, I've known you for so many years. How could I not know what kind of person you are? Don't say those useless things. I didn't say that I wouldn't give it to you. Do you want to fight with me now? Lin Xian looked at Lin Wenlan proudly and rolled up his sleeves. Clearly he was prepared to accompany her to the end. Hearing this, Lin Wenlan's face turned even redder. Wasn't this enough to prove that this old man did it on purpose? Usually, the two of them were not afraid of each other. Now that this old man was 2 realms higher than him, how could he fight? When Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang arrived and saw this scene, they couldn't help but laugh. Yin Yan was right. Today was going to be a chaotic day. The older one got, the more childish their temperament became. The saying was not wrong at all. Diyu helplessly watched the routine bickering between the two elders. At this time he did not dare to interrupt. Once he became the spearhead, the anger of the two elders would definitely be directed at him. Thinking back to the years when Beichen hadn't returned, he had been scolded to the point that he didn't even dare to stay in the clan. Beichen, you're out? Suddenly, Diyu noticed Beichen who had just walked in. His eyes lit up and filled with joy. Following Diyuju's words, everyone turned to look at Beichen. Their eyes were filled with joy. This is faster than we expected. We thought that you would have to stay in there for at least 3 months to half a year. Lin Xian and Lin Wenlan stopped bickering and turned their attention to Beichen. Chapter 6282. Facing everyone's expectant gazes, Beichen spread out his hands and said, "Actually, I just took a nap in there and came out after that." There was complete silence. Diyu and the others looked at Beichen in a daze, wondering if he was deliberately making up a joke to tease them. It's true. Noticing everyone's expression, Beichen emphasized, "There's only one message inside, and that's that we have to find all 3 keys." Hearing this, everyone came to a realization, and a look of regret appeared on their faces at the same time. If that's the case, we have to find a way to find all the keys. I'm afraid only Xiao Sou knows where the keys are. Lin Xian's expression turned serious. Originally it was not difficult to accept not opening the Land of Heritage, but now that Beichen was a rare destined person, it would be a real pity if he did not open the Land of Heritage. Now that I think about it, it's a good thing that Xiao Sou and Xiao Sudong ran away back then. If they had also died back then, we wouldn't have any clues to find the keys now. Diyu smiled faintly. Although this matter had changed quite a bit, there was still a glimmer of hope in the end. Perhaps this was also a kind of fate. The originally heavy atmosphere became relaxed with Diyu's words. Indeed, compared to the worst-case scenario, they at least had a glimmer of hope. Shuyu is the #1 expert in the upper realm. With him protecting Xiao Sou, it won't be easy for us to do anything. Lin Wenlan was not too optimistic. This matter was very troublesome in itself. If they could not think of a way, they could only watch helplessly. Shuyu is indeed the #1 expert, but the speed at which our strength has been increasing recently is also not bad. Perhaps it won't be long before we can surpass Shuyu. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with confidence, and his deep voice was filled with determination. In the past, the speed at which his strength was increasing had never been slow, but later on, for some reason, the speed of his breakthrough became very slow. Even though he had been in seclusion, he was still unable to make any progress. However, after breaking through recently, he found that the speed of his improvement had returned to the past. It was because of this that he felt that his recent condition was better than ever. In the past he felt that Shuyu was difficult to deal with, but now he had confidence. Seeing how confident Lin Xian was, Lin Wenlan didn't argue with him. During this period of time, even he was surprised by Lin Xuan's improvement. If this continued, it wasn't impossible for him to defeat Shuyu. It was only a matter of time. Although Beichen didn't know how much Lin Xian's cultivation had increased, he knew that the situation wasn't as bad as they thought. Actually, he had never paid much attention to Shuyu because his gaze had always been on the immortal domain. Even if Shuyu was a genius, he had only arrived at the crossing immortal domain and had yet to truly enter the immortal domain. As long as they were given enough time, their strength would definitely surpass Shuyu's. I'll send someone to keep an eye on Xiao Sou during this period of time so that she won't have a chance to escape. As soon as we have the confidence, we'll make our move. A cold light flashed across Lin Xian's eyes. Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng wanted to leave the D family with an eternal regret. He wouldn't let them have their way. Apart from that, I've noticed that there's an extra mark on my hand. Chapter 6283. The black totem was like a burning flame. It was clearly still, but for some reason it looked like it was burning. It carried a mysterious and unique power. He had not noticed the totem at first, but when he reached out to hold Hong Zhuang's hand, he realized that there was an additional totem on his palm. He tried to use his mental strength to touch the totem, but there was no reaction at all. It seemed that there was nothing special about it other than a mark on his palm. However, Beichen did not think that it was just a mark. In fact, no one would think that it was a simple mark at first glance. Let me see. Diyu quickly walked to Beichen's side. When he saw the mark on his hand, his eyes were filled with shock. Di Linxian and the others also quickly walked over and carefully examined the totem in Di Beichen's hand. This totem was obtained in the land of heritage. It's definitely not simple. Di Yujua's eyes were filled with fear. When he first saw the totem, he actually felt a terrifying power. This feeling was similar to when he saw Di Beichen rise into the air that day. It was mysterious, powerful, and detached from everything. I think I've seen this totem somewhere before. Di Linxian frowned and his eyes were filled with thoughts. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Grandfather, think about it carefully. I think I've also seen this fire totem in an ancient book in the family. It's been a long time. The reason why I remember it is because this totem is very special. It leaves a deep impression on me at first glance. Di Linxian smiled. I used to think that these were all illusory legends. I never thought that they would come true one after another. Everyone, please calm down. I'll go back and look for it later. I'll see if I can find anything about this totem. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not expect that the ancient books passed down in the Di family would have records about it. However, this was good news for them. Beichen, I feel that you are becoming more and more mysterious. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. I've always heard that our family has a very powerful inheritance. In the past, every cultivator who opened the land of inheritance had achievements that far surpassed ordinary cultivators. Right now, you are also someone destined to be here. Who knows, maybe something incredible will happen. Maybe you can become someone from the immortal realms. Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but feel happy for Di Beichen as his dark and bright eyes flashed with dazzling light. Even though he had yet to obtain the other 2 keys, he believed that the other 2 keys would fall into their hands sooner or later. Big brother, it's not just me. We will all become people of the immortal region. Di Beichen's lips curled into a warm smile. Believe me, it's only a matter of time. With their current situation, they were indeed still some distance away from entering the celestial realm, but this was only a matter of time. Once they broke through to the Radiant Sun stage, they would be able to enter the chaotic immortal realm. Although this was a very risky choice, it was not impossible to find a way out. Chapter 6284. After returning to the house, Di Beichen carefully examined the totem in his hand and carefully thought about his memories of this totem. However, no matter how hard he thought, he could not think of any relevant information. The only thing he remembered was that he had to gather the 3 secret keys. Perhaps when he gathered the 3 secret keys and entered the land of inheritance, he would be able to find out the connection. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen's serious expression and handed him a cup of tea. The family's land of inheritance really feels more and more mysterious now. Yes. Di Beichen took a sip of tea and smiled. Perhaps in the future, we will discover that our family is not ordinary at all. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and shook her head when she saw Di Beichen's words getting more and more off topic. Beichen's ability to fabricate nonsense was also very shocking. No matter what, we have come into contact with some situations now. Although we are unable to gather the secret keys for the time being, I believe that it will eventually fall into our hands. Di Beichen's handsome eyes were brimming with confidence. He said calmly, I have already broken through to the initial sun stage. When we search for the secret on the treasure map, we will have a little more confidence. That's true. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Now that the land of inheritance could only be temporarily set aside, it was a good time to search for the treasure. No matter what mysterious place the map fragment pointed to, it was definitely not simple. If they could obtain some opportunities from it, it would undoubtedly be best. For 2 consecutive days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not see Di Yujue and Di Linxian. According to Xia Wanrong, the 2 of them had already plunged into the family's library and would probably not come out until they finished reading the ancient books. On the 3rd day, Di Linxian and Di Yujue finally appeared. However, both of them looked very regretful. We have flipped through the ancient books and indeed found this totem. Di Yujue sighed. It's a pity that there's only this totem in the ancient books. There's nothing else. Indeed, all the ancient books have been flipped through. The only thing I know is that this totem has something to do with the establishment of our family. But because too much time has passed, many of the records have been lost. Di Linxian couldn't help but feel regretful. Even though the family had been carefully protecting the ancient books all these years, it was inevitable that some of them would be lost after so many years. What a pity. Lin Yunqing sighed inwardly. Then can we only find out when we open the land of heritage? That should be the case. Di Beichen felt that it was a pity when he heard the news, but he quickly recovered. Since this totem has appeared, we will know its true meaning sooner or later. Everyone nodded. That was the only thing they could do. After deciding to put this matter aside for the time being, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others decided to set off to find the location of the treasure map. With their current cultivation bases, they could only stay in the abandoned immortal forest if they went to the upper realm. They could not go anywhere else. Moreover, if they went to the abandoned immortal forest now, no one knew if they would run into trouble again. Since that was the case, they might as well stay in the upper realm for the time being and raise their strength in peace. Father, Mother, Beichen and I plan to go out and train. Chapter 6285. You little fellows really can't stay idle. You've just come out of seclusion and you're already planning to go out and train. Mu Lingbing's voice was filled with helplessness, but her eyes were filled with heartache. You're a girl. Don't tire yourself out by working so hard every day. Reaching out to comb Bailey Hongzhuang's soft, shiny hair, Mu Lingbing gently said, the Dark Assembly has been established and you're the Holy Maiden of Light. There's no one in the entire upper realm who can compare to you. Why tire yourself out? Bailey Hongzhuang's heart warmed. Only her family cared about whether she was tired or not. Mother, I know you're worried about me, but I don't think it's hard. A bright smile spread across her exquisite face, and her strong confidence made her even more dazzling. On the contrary, I like this kind of life very much. In the Qianbui Kingdom, she had no choice but to work hard to become stronger in order to change her situation. But in reality, the desire to become stronger had already taken root in her heart since her previous life. Although she needed to put in a lot of effort to improve her cultivation, she had gained a lot along the way. For the sake of her family and herself, she didn't want to stop moving forward. Lingbing, don't worry. Lan Yunxiao smiled. Our daughter isn't the type to obediently stay at home to take care of her husband and children. This kind of life is more suitable for her. In any case, we're still young. Why don't we let her go out and experience the world? Father is right. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Looking at the two smiling faces, Mu Lingbing couldn't help but smile. She waved her hand and said, forget it, I can't win against you. I don't object to going out to train, but you must return safely. I promise. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was serious, but the slight twitch of her lips revealed her emotions. Hongzhuang, your mother is right. You must be careful when you go out. Lan Yunxiao seriously reminded her. As for us, you don't have to worry. Just go without worry. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. If there's anything you need, just tell me directly. We've been here for a long time. We're already used to it. Lan Yunxiao waved his hand, his eyes filled with affection. That's good. Di Beichen also told his family about this idea. Di Yujue and the others also did not object. They all knew that Beichen and the others already had their own ideas. Just by looking at this map fragment, they knew that it wasn't simple. Since they were so fated, they naturally had to take a look. However, when Di Beichen and the others were about to set off, they unexpectedly saw Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan. Big brother Yunyan, what are you doing? Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. Beichen, do you mind if we go with you? Di Beichen was a little surprised. If you're willing to go, I'm naturally happy. But have you told everyone about this? When this matter was mentioned earlier, Di Xiaofeng had never mentioned that he was going. Now that he suddenly said that he was going, it was really beyond their expectations. I did. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Originally, everyone always said that I liked to run around. But ever since you came, they stopped saying that. You're the one who likes to run around. I've already discussed it with my grandfather. Right now, I don't need to deal with the family's matters, so I still have enough time to go out and explore. Chapter 6286. Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, everyone nodded. Now that the Di family and the Lin family were doing well, they believed that there wouldn't be any problems for a long time to come. Grandfather was still strong and could take care of the family matters. Therefore, whether it was Di Xiaofeng or Di Beichen, they had a long time to continue adventuring. Of course, the most important reason is that every time you go out to train, your strength will increase very quickly. When Di Beichen first came, he was much weaker than me. Now his strength has surpassed mine. If I don't go out with you, I don't know where I will be when you come back. As the big brother, I still have to maintain some dignity. As soon as he said this, everyone chuckled. However, when they thought about it carefully, what Di Xiaofeng said did make sense. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go together. Di Baichen smiled faintly. Let's go. Everyone embarked on the path to find the incomplete map inheritance. This inheritance was very far away. Di Baichen had already studied the route before they set off. Therefore, along the way, wherever there was a teleportation formation, everyone used it to travel. When they arrived at a desolate place without a teleportation formation, they took the flying car and continued their journey. However, even using a teleportation formation to travel took a long time. The flying car flew quickly in the sky. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were cultivating in the flying car. As for the task of controlling the flying car, it was directly handed over to Xiaohe and Xiaobai. Master, there is suddenly a hurricane in front. It is difficult for the flying car to control the direction. Xiaobai frowned as she looked at the gale in front of them. In fact, the flying car itself had a certain resistance to external forces. However, the wind speed was much more terrifying than what they usually encountered. Even if they continued to control the flying car, under the influence of the gale, their speed was too slow. Most importantly, the gale was still showing signs of intensifying. If this continued, the flying car would most likely go out of control. Di Baichen also exited his cultivation state after feeling the shaking of the flying car. He looked at the situation in front of him and frowned. Why is there such a strong wind all of a sudden? Di Xiaofeng and the others also opened their eyes. Baichen, if the wind speed continues to increase, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to control the flying car. It'll be even more dangerous. Hearing this, Di Baichen nodded slightly. Then we can only go down here. All right. Everyone agreed. Rather than being blown away by the wind on the flying carriage, it would be better to find a temporary hiding place on the ground. After controlling the flying car to stop on a slope, everyone disembarked one after another. The wind is so strong that I can't even open my eyes. It's hard to even tell the direction. Shengguan Ying stretched out her hand to block the wind in front of her. It was the first time she had seen such a terrifying wind. Fortunately, they were cultivators and had profound skills. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been blown away by the wind. I think the wind seems to be getting stronger. We have to find a place to hide as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if it's us, I'm afraid we might be blown away by the wind at any time. Mo Yunjue's face darkened. The wind was indeed a bit strange, but now was not the time to think about it. Chapter 6287. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the surrounding environment. In fact, the place where they were now was already deserted. At a glance, there was no one at all. However, according to their judgment, they were still some distance away from the location marked on the map. After all, the location marked on the map was the ocean and they were still on land. However, if they kept moving forward, they would reach the ocean soon. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, everyone nodded their heads and began to search the area. This was a flat area. It was very empty and even the vegetation was sparse. At a glance, it could be said to be a flat land and one could see very far. It was in this kind of environment that the wind was so terrifying. In this kind of environment, it was obviously not easy to find a cave. However, looking at the similarly empty land behind them, everyone could only give up on the idea. Normally no one comes here. It seems that even demonic beasts don't live here. The possibility of a natural cave is too small. Di Xiaofeng's expression was a bit ugly. He looked around and there was no cave at all. Right now the wind was gradually increasing. Even if he wanted to take a step forward, it was very difficult. If they didn't quickly find a place to stay, they would be directly blown away by the wind. This kind of scene. Just thinking about it was hard to believe. However, this was really the case. There are indeed no demonic beasts here. Bai Li Yanche's expression was serious. There was vigilance and worry between his brows. Demonic beasts were different from humans. Humans would often choose a suitable place to live together. Different demonic beasts were suitable for different places. Therefore, aside from some dead areas, there were demonic beasts everywhere. As a beast king, he was very sensitive to the aura of demonic beasts. Ever since he stood on the ground, he found that there were no demonic beasts around. This was a very rare situation. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and their expressions became even more serious. It seemed that the situation was more complicated than they thought. Since we can't find a cave, we'll dig one ourselves. Di Baichen's eyes flashed with determination. Since they had decided to go to the place pointed by the map fragment, they definitely couldn't give up. Although Di Baichen's idea was a bit unexpected, it was indeed the only way. For a moment, everyone no longer hesitated and began to move. They had to dig this cave before the wind became more and more terrifying. Only then could they safely pass through today. Under this terrifying wind, just standing was already a very difficult task. Digging a cave was even more difficult. With a shovel, the soil directly flew over everyone's faces. Regarding this, everyone did not stop because of this. They all sped up and began to dig the cave. When Di Xiaofeng saw that Di Beichen and the others had brought shovels, he was very surprised. Normally, who would bring a shovel when they went out training? Chapter 6288. At this moment, Bailey Yunyan also realized the gap between her and everyone else. It turned out that everyone had a way to deal with this kind of unexpected situation when they went out to train. In comparison, she had never thought of using these tools other than the weapons she had in her hands. Fortunately, this time she came with Hong Zhuang and the others. If it was only her and Xiaofeng, it was completely impossible to dig a cave here with just 2 swords. Digging a cave with Di Beichen and the others' methods, it was just a matter of minutes. However, in such a special environment the speed was a lot slower. However, in the end, everyone succeeded in digging a cave and hid in it. After entering the cave, Xiao Xuanzi didn't stop, but continued to dig the cave a little wider. In this way, everyone could stay in the cave more comfortably. Everyone found a place to sit on the ground in the cave. Without the terrible wind, everyone felt comfortable. Beichen, I really admire you guys. Everyone has a shovel when going out to train. You really opened my eyes. Di Xiaofeng looked at Di Beichen and the others with a smile. As expected of a team, the shovels looked the same. Presumably, everyone bought them together. Listening to Di Xiaofeng's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. This shovel didn't come from anywhere else, it was brought out from the spirit-devouring mine. When they were mining, they found that this shovel was extremely sharp, sharper than a weapon. The things in the immortal domain were of the highest quality. In addition, the spirit-devouring ore was very hard. The shovel was also made of a special material. Therefore, before they left, they took the shovel with them. Who would have thought that it would be used in this kind of situation? In the future, Xiaofeng and I have to prepare more things before we go out. Who knows when it will be useful? Bailey Yunyan's face was full of novelty. In the past, she stayed in the family most of the time and didn't have many opportunities to go out to train. Because with their cultivation, going out to train was really dangerous, so unless it was a large-scale training event, the family's disciples would participate together. This was the first time she tried to go out with a small group. However, it was also because she had never experienced it before that she felt that everything was so interesting. It turned out that going out to train actually required so many things to prepare. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled but did not say anything. Mining was not a glorious past. It seems to be getting colder here. Bailey Yunyan couldn't help but curl up her body. In fact, she had felt that this place was very cold from the beginning. But now it seemed to be getting colder and colder. Let's start a fire, Bailey Hongzhuang said. She had also noticed the change in the environment. But here, if there was nothing, how could he start a fire? Before Bailey Yunyan could finish her words, she saw Bailey Hongzhuang take out firewood and pile it up. While she was in a daze, the fire had already started to burn. In the face of Di Beichen and the others' calm and habitual appearance, Bailey Yunyan sighed. I never thought that we would have to prepare firewood when we go out for training? Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. She smiled faintly and said, I happen to have one. Chapter 6289. I've really learned something new. Di Xiaofeng deeply reprimanded himself. He thought that he had a lot of experience in the outside world, but now he felt that his little bit of experience was really not worth mentioning. I finally understand why you guys have such great gains every time you train. No matter where you are, other people's preparations are definitely not as comprehensive as yours. Seeing Di Xiaofeng's serious expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and felt a little amused. To be honest, if it weren't for the things they had to do in the abandoned immortal forest, they wouldn't have these things in their Qingkuan bags. However, thinking about it carefully, it was true that no matter what kind of experience it was, it could be of great help to them. Some things that you think are unremarkable often play a big role in some special situations. When the twilight came, the earth was plunged into darkness. The fire in the cave became the only source of light in this silent night. There are no demonic beasts around here, So we don't have to worry about being attacked by demonic beasts at night? Bai Li Yanche looked around. However, it might not be a good thing that there are no demonic beasts around here. Hearing that, everyone nodded. A place without demonic beasts was very strange in itself. There must be some reason for it. Yanche Linger Xiao Xuanzi, do you know why there are no demonic beasts here? Bailey Hongzhuang turned her gaze to the three of them. Although Xiao He and Xiao Bai were demonic beasts, they were strange creatures created by the dark Holy Sun and Holy Maiden of Light. There was a certain difference between them and demonic beasts. I didn't discover anything. Xiao Xuanzi shook his head. However, it should be related to the harsh living environment here. In terms of the laws of heaven and earth in the upper realm, their current cultivation was already considered very good. However, they still had to be on guard against the possibility of being blown away at any time. Even if demonic beasts were larger in size, they could still be blown away if they weren't strong enough. That's right. Di Baichen's expression darkened. No wonder there are so few people in this place. The wind itself is already very strange. In addition, the temperature is getting colder and colder. It's indeed not suitable for living. It was not yet late at night, but the temperature was already abnormally cold. If not for the essence energy protecting their bodies, most likely, everyone would have frozen to death here after one night. Bailey Hongzhuang added more firewood into the fire. Everyone unconsciously moved closer to the fire. They had not felt this cold for a long time. Normally with our cultivation, even if the weather turns cold, we won't feel too cold. But this time, it feels like we've returned to our childhood and can only rely on clothes to keep out the cold. Di Xiaofeng looked at the environment outside. The night was dark and thick. Other than the light from the fire, he couldn't see anything else. This place is indeed very strange. Listening to the sound of the wind, the gale hasn't stopped yet. I'm afraid we'll have to wait for the gale to die down or even stop before we can leave. Mo Yunjue's gaze was complicated. This place was truly mysterious. I wonder how the person who drew this map came to such a strange place. Chapter 6290. Perhaps this person likes to explore. This place is so strange, so it's not surprising that there are fortuitous encounters inside. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. If she didn't have the map fragment, she would also be very interested in this place. Whether it was the weather or the absence of demonic beasts, all these signs indicated that the situation here was very special. Going deep into the hinterland, perhaps they would have a chance to figure out all the grievances. Big brother, have you heard of this place before? Di Baichen turned around. Among them, Di Xiaofeng was the one who understood the environment of the upper realm the best. Di Xiaofeng shook his head. No, actually the upper realm is very large. There are many places that are deserted and no one would come here. If it weren't for this map, I might not have come to such a place in my life. Di Baichen understood. Indeed, if it wasn't for a purpose, ordinary people wouldn't think of coming to such a remote and desolate place. The next day after dawn, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others found that the wind was still howling outside, and the wind speed was even more terrifying than yesterday. Therefore, everyone could only stay in the cave for 3 days until the wind gradually died down, and then they walked out of the cave. Looking at the plain in front of them, everyone's mood was very complicated. Di Baichen said, "Now that the wind has stopped, let's continue forward." Everyone nodded. This place wasn't very far from the sea area marked on the map. In addition, the environment here was strange and no one knew if they would encounter any danger later, so they didn't continue to ride the flying car. Although the flying car was fast, once a crisis occurred, their reaction speed would be slowed down, and it would be unsafe. It was a sunny day without the slightest breeze. The sun scorched the earth, and sweat unconsciously soaked the back of their clothes. This is really strange weather. 2 nights ago it was so cold that we almost froze to death, and now it's so hot. It's like ice and fire at the same time. Shengguan Yingying wiped the sweat on her neck, and her face was full of disbelief. She still clearly remembered that she had been complaining about not bringing any warm clothes at night. This time she only felt that she was wearing too much. This place is indeed very strange. No wonder there are no demonic beasts living here. Otherwise, how could the demonic beasts endure such a constantly changing world? At this moment, Xiren finally understood. No matter if it was a hot place or a cold place, there would be demonic beasts living there. This was because demonic beasts themselves were resistant to heat and cold. However, this place was hot and cold at the same time. Unless the demonic beasts could withstand the 2 extremes of weather, it was simply torture to survive here. Indeed, there are very few demonic beasts that can adapt to the cold and heat. However, it's not like there are none. Bai Lianche's eyes darkened. Actually, there are such places in the world. I know of a kind of demon beast that can adapt to these two environments. Such an environment was rare, but for such a demonic beast, if they could find such an environment, it would be a great thing for them. However, there are no demonic beasts auras here at all. I'm afraid there are other strange places. As Bai Lianche's voice fell, everyone looked at each other. These words meant that this place was even stranger than they thought. There shouldn't be any more problems, right? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.